So Sanjay, thank you so much for joining us today. To kick things off then, when COVID hit, what did your technology team do to allow the business to continue operating as close to as usual as possible?
Thanks, Will. Look, there's a couple of things. When COVID hit, it actually hit our China business early in January. So we had some rehearsal of how to help, at least in that case, the China team work remotely from home. But we couldn't have estimated at that point that come March, the whole organization would, in a rapid period, have to deal with working from home. So, I mean, the key parts was very simple things, having equipment that we could give to people to be able to work from home, and having the network bandwidth and other elements associated with that to actually make that work at latency. And the reason that was important is March is predominantly when sort of COVID hit in a big way, and our year ends in March. So closing the books for a FTSE 250 company remotely with some 300, 400 people sitting in our shared service center was a massive challenge. But the thing I'm most proud of with the team doing is allowing the company to work remotely, to run our factories, to close our books, to be able to engage with our customers. And we achieved all of that within a 3-week period.
Well, it sounds really fantastic. And kind of within all of that, what were you most proud of your team's achievements during this time and why?
A couple of things. We sort of had a plan to sort of roll out what we call a better way of working. So we had a program of work which had a sort of SD-WAN element to it, a laptop deployment element to it, and then in our case, Microsoft Teams collaborative play associated with it. We'd originally planned to do that sort of 6 to 9 months. It took 3 weeks. So I'm really proud of the fact that, with some preparation that had been done on a global basis, the team came together and every region in our business was enabled within the 3-week period. It took us a little bit longer for some of our contractors that are not full-time employees, but in 3 weeks to have a global company up and running with factories running, finance function, salespeople. I mean, I couldn't be prouder of the function in terms of getting that done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a stellar job by the team. Really impressive, actually. And sort of looking beyond that bit around operating successfully, which clearly they did in spades. What was the wider impact, including sort of anything really unintended, that occurred as a result of this work?
So there's probably a couple of things that I would say. Again, it's nice to have that in hindsight. That, look, enabling the business to keep running was our number one priority in those early months, and that worked really well. But the second part that I guess we hadn't really anticipated to the same extent is because people were remote, there were lots of external opportunists looking for cyber breaches. And I know that there were some big companies that were hit as a consequence of that. Some of our business partners and some of our ecosystem in IT was hit, but we managed to keep the company safe. I mean, in July, I had to stand up in front of my audit committee and board, all of whom had worked with many other businesses, asking all sorts of questions about, well, how did you handle this and how did you handle that? We had that managed through that environment. And that's just immense, right? Running the company is one thing, but dealing with those third-party vulnerabilities, some of our partners being breached, and maintaining safety from a cyber perspective, that's something that I would not have anticipated. The second part of it is, we're a B2B business, we're a business-to-business business, and therefore working with our customers is really important. And therefore enabling our customers to do things like provide food and beverages. We're a food ingredients company, allowing people to stock up, when they're eating at home and the kids are at home. That's the core part of our business. Not being able to travel to visit our customers, but my function enabling that to happen remotely, being able to have dialogue with our customers, being able to do remote testing of our products and tastings of our products, and be able to showcase how our labs are working. That again is something that we enabled through that journey. That wasn't just about working remotely, but continuing that collaboration. In fact, getting more personal in some of those collaborations, because this face-to-face nature is something that you don't get to that same personal level when you're sort of in a physical environment. So those are some of those things that happened that we hadn't anticipated, but were supplementary to the COVID environment.
Yeah, it sounds like, there's some great positive customer experiences which came out of all of that, which can just carry on into the future. So how does all of that impact your strategy for creating and leading a great technology team at Tate and Lyle?
Look, it reinforces the journey we started a while ago. We're a much smaller function. We're only about 120 20 odd in the core IT function. We have a large ecosystem of partners that we work with. And part of that was really to drive some agility, to deploy faster, but also become clear on what are the core capabilities that we're going to retain as IT. And this environment over the last 6 months has done a couple of things. It's demonstrated that we can do things in hours and days, not days, weeks, and months. So that reinforces that agility perspective. Secondly, it's meant that we can do things remotely. We've had remote go lives during this that we wouldn't have contemplated, big SAP go lives, both technical and business wise, that actually have been really successful in a virtual environment with a large ecosystem of partners and the business, adopting that level of change. We've been able to demonstrate that IT can be more strategic. Right? So by demonstrating that we can really be a core part of running the business and therefore customer collaboration, we're now moving towards a strategic growth partnership. And that means that not only can we enable the business in the way that the business wants to be enabled, whether that's productivity or automation or removing manual things, but we can start showing them what technology can actually do, bringing analytics to the table, bringing some of those roadmap to AI, more digitization of processes. I talked about virtual tastings. Those are things that we would not have considered to happen in the virtual world. So being a much more strategic business partner and being able to showcase what's the art of the possible with technology, that's all now being built into our roadmap in terms of things that we can do.
Well, it sounds like technology is really becoming the center of the business. And with that in mind, my very last question for today is, what's your plan now for the team going forward as a result of these organizational changes?
That's a good question. And I have to say, Will, look, we're still on a journey. We still have a lot to do and a lot to learn. We are in a great place. We've got great credibility with the business, and we're starting to have that more strategic conversation. There's a couple of things that we do still need to do. So sort of stabilizing the IT function, in this remote environment and learning how to work that hybrid as some of us do tend to go back to the office. Not everyone will go back to the office. We'll probably be in the office 1 or 2 days a week for those that are office based. So getting used to that hybrid environment is going to be something that we do. Embedding our ability to do things in a more agile way. We're adopting agile methodology in terms of building projects incrementally, embedding some of that, and then reinforcing the pride in being an IT function. We have a very clear vision of what we want to be as an IT function. We have a very clear purpose. Our purpose as a company is really around improving lives of generations for people through food and beverages and food and beverage solutions. Our purpose as an IT function is improving the lives of the generations of people in the company because their lives are easier when they come to work. Having passwordless access so that they can do what they do on their mobile phone at home, in their equipment at home, in the office. Having technology that actually makes their life easier and is easy to use, having one button to press before everything comes alive rather than having to figure out how to use equipment. All of those are on our agenda for simplifying the way that people's lives are at work, for enabling strategic growth, and for showing actually technology can enable a lot of these. Those are the sorts of things that are on our agenda going forward. And it's an exciting place to be as a CIO. And I'm proud to have a team that's sort of stepping up to that set of new challenges in the world as we go forward.
Well, it sounds like a really bright future ahead, Sanjay. So thank you so much for coming along to talk with us today. It'd be definitely great to catch up, in that 6 months, year time to see how things are progressing. But for now, that's everything for today.